Inventory is declining pretty rapidly every day now as supply dries up for the end of the year, but demand hasn't really abated. This week, we'll look at some of the demand metrics and we'll see what we can see through the end of the year. That's this week's Altos Research U.S. Real Estate Market Report. Each week, Altos tracks every home for sale in the country, all the pricing, all the changes in pricing, all the supply and demand, and we make those metrics available before you see it in the traditional channels. It's now Monday, November 8th, and here's what the data is telling us right now. Active inventory of unsold single-family homes fell again this week, down a couple percent to just over 400,000 homes on the market. As the pandemic mortgage forbearance process is rapidly winding down, we've been looking for any sign of extra inventory of those unpaid mortgages to hit the market. So far, no signs. And frankly, if anything, inventory is falling faster than normal right now. Each week, as we pass the holidays through the end of the year, fewer and fewer new listings hit the market, of course. But as the economy is really strong, Americans have more cash than they've ever had, and unemployment is really low. Demand for houses is staying higher than it normally does this time of year. As a result, we're actually revising downward our projection for the end of the year inventory levels. By the way, this week, Thursday, November 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific, we'll be hosting our November webinar where we'll take an hour to dive into all the details on the U.S. real estate market, the supply and demand metrics, and the projections for the coming year. I will show you how tracking this inventory in real time really gives us far better insight than waiting for some of the traditional measures. There's a link to register for the webinar in the description below. So click that to make sure you join us Thursday. We bumped up the attendee limit from 500 to 1,000 this month to accommodate the interest. If you're a professional in real estate, you'll want to join us so that you know the very latest in the market and can keep your buyers and sellers informed properly. Click the link to register for the webinar in the description below. That's Thursday this week. You can also see this relative supply and demand situation play out in our immediate sales tracker. Total volume falls each week as we end the year, of course. But as a percentage, the immediate sales are staying remarkably strong. So under 20,000 immediate sales this week, just under 20,000. These are the homes that got listed for sale and went into contract essentially immediately, like within hours or days. And we're still at 25% of the new listings are getting sold immediately. So when the market finally shifts, one of the first things we'll see, we'll notice is fewer of these new listings selling immediately each week. But that hasn't happened yet. Like that shift is not yet upon us. Here's another view of supply versus demand. This is the Altos Market Action Index. It's a 0 to 100 scale. Anything above 30 means that inventory is tight enough to be seller's market conditions. I will spend more time on this excellent view of supply versus demand in the webinar on Thursday. But this number is an at-a-glance. It's an easy at-a-glance answer to the question, how's the market? So if this number is climbing, then inventory is tightening relative to demand. If this number is falling, then demand is declining relative to the supply levels. So what's useful to notice right now is the far right end of this chart. Is that the weekly measure, that's the light colored line here, has been ticking up lately. So it's above the 90-day rolling average, which is the dark line here, when normally this time of year, it'd be flat or falling. So this is actually showing us demand staying remarkably stable or even climbing relative to the normal supply levels for this time of year. So join us on Thursday for the webinar, and I'll spend more time on this data, and we can look and see what that implies for prices and transactions in the future. Finally this week, let's look at prices. The median price of a single-family home in the U.S. this week is $385,000. That's down $1,000 from last week and about 1% off recent levels. This price change is totally normal for November. In fact, because demand is staying elevated, prices have actually stayed elevated longer in the fall than normal too. So normally prices would be declining faster than this. So don't be worried about prices ticking down. That's where things are resetting for the beginning of the year. But it is November, and so if you're one of the 60,000 or 70,000 or so homes that got listed this week, you're more likely to price with a little discount so you don't end up with the house on the market over Christmas. And so what we can see here, we can see that tendency in the price of the new listings. That's the light colored line here, the far right end of the chart. So we're down to $350,000 this week. You can see that we're set up with each of these annual cycles for a big dip in the leading indicator here in Thanksgiving and again at Christmas. And then the price of the new listings will darts up in January. You can see that the price of new listings started 2021 at $284,000. So this year we'll end up at $315 or $320 before launching upwards with the spring inventory. Okay, that's all the data we have time for today. If you're a realtor and you're working with buyers and sellers right now, or you want to help them take action in the new year, if you're dealing with clients who need to understand the conflicting headlines about the market, then you need to get them the data. To do that, go to altosresearch.com, book time with our team. There's always a link in the description below. Also, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel to get these videos each week. And remember that Thursday, November 11th, that's this week Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, join us for our full hour-long webinar. Like I said, we increased the attendance on that from 500 to 1,000 to accommodate all the interest, so you should make sure you get one of those seats. Click the link in the description below. Join us and we'll geek out to all the data on Thursday. Okay, see you Thursday. More next week.